These images of Pluto are truly incredible. The pictures taken by the only NASA probe to have studied the dwarf planet show it in fascinating detail. Be sure to stay tuned until the end to learn more about this fantastic ice world. And if you like it, I would be very happy about a thumbs up and a comment, because that helps us get the YouTube algorithm to show this video to more people who can also learn something. Thank you everyone, and welcome. It has now been 7 years since there was great excitement in the space scene. The reason for this was that the New Horizons probe took its first crystal clear images of the dwarf planet Pluto after a 9-year journey through space. Until then, we had to be satisfied with this picture. It was okay, but it could have been better, and the scientists of the New Frontiers program knew that. At the beginning of the 2000s, Pluto really wasn't the object of desire. It was also the last planet to be explored, but that wasn't just because it was the farthest from us, but also because no one really had any interest in it. Some of you know the feeling from Tinder. Even the photos from Hubble back then were, well, somehow it seemed a bit stale and uninteresting, but the researchers campaigned for a mission to Pluto, and in 2006 it finally got off the ground. On January 19th, 2006, New Horizons embarked on its long journey to the dwarf planet on board an Atlas V rocket, at that time still the most powerful launch vehicle at Cape Canaveral. It got off to a flying start, with the probe leaving Earth at a hitherto unachieved speed of 16.21 kilometers per second. After only about 9 hours, the probe was already at the moon 10 times faster than the Apollo missions. And thanks to Jupiter, which the probe used for a swing-by maneuver, another 3 years of flight time could be saved. That's what I call efficiency. New Horizons arrived at Pluto on July 14th, 2015, as the very first spacecraft, and delivered stunning photos from a distance of only 12,500 kilometers from the surface. However, the photos arrived on Earth with a delay of 4.5 hours due to the great distance. Such delays are also something one is used to from the German railway, but the images truly leave one speechless. We see mountains, glaciers, and huge expanses of ice and structures that are out of this world. Let's take a look at a few of the pictures and see what we can recognize. For example, what looks like a giant heart on Pluto is actually a huge expanse of ice. With a little imagination, you can even see the shape of Goofy's dog Pluto. However, this is not scientifically proven. And why does Goofy actually have a dog when he is a dog himself? So let's stick to the facts. The area is called Sputnik Planitia and is an ice-covered basin the size of Texas, which forms the western region of the aforementioned heart-shaped Tombaugh region. You can see a clear color contrast to the surrounding region. The probe has found that 98% of the surface consists of nitrogen ice. The temperature is minus 229 degrees. The ice on Pluto behaves quite similarly to that on Earth. It can flow like a glacier, and if you take a look at the edge of the ice surface, you can also clearly see some glaciers. What is immediately noticeable in the footage are these strange structures on the ice surface, also referred to as polygons. These are about 33 kilometers in diameter and are separated from each other by depressions, which are also referred to as convection cells. What cannot be seen, however, are craters, and that is why the researchers assume that this is a relatively new area, or one that is continuously renewed. The scientists estimate the age to be a mere 10 million years, which is indeed relatively young on a cosmic scale. The polygons also show grooves or stripes, which could indicate a phenomenon known as sublimation. This happens when ice is not first melted into water, but is converted directly into gas. Now the question arises of how such a huge, almost smooth ice surface could have formed. It is assumed that Sputnik Planitia may have been created by a large impact, and the resulting hole was then filled by a subsurface ocean. Can one even speak of underground when not talking about Earth? Or is it rather a subsurface ocean? It would definitely be a cool title for a sci-fi movie. The Subplutonic Empire Strikes Back, or The Return of the Subplutonians.
I have a bad feeling about this.
La zona se llama Sputnik Planitia y es una cuenca cubierta de hielo del tamaño de Texas que forma la región occidental de la mencionada región de Tombaugh con forma de corazón. Se aprecia un claro contraste de color con la región circundante. La sonda descubrió que el 98% de la superficie está formada por hielo de nitrógeno. La temperatura es de 229 grados bajo cero. It is also called penance ice, which makes total sense as I always have to atone for my sins when I eat too much nog ice. The so-called penance ice is formed by depressions in the snow. and especially in regions where the dew point is below freezing and solar radiation is very high. The peaks of the penitent's ice cannot melt. In the hollows, on the other hand, the air is more humid and the dew point is higher, so that the ice there can then melt. The melting process in the hollow therefore progresses faster, and gradually an ice peak is formed. It could have happened in a similar way on Pluto. At least these formations look very much like the penitential ice on Earth. The methane ice peaks on Pluto reach several hundred meters in height. It must be an incredible feeling to walk through an icy world full of ice pyramids several hundred meters tall. What a perfect setting that would be for a science fiction film. The ice masses of under Plutonia. It keeps getting better. The New Horizons probe also took a truly spectacular photo of Pluto's atmosphere, which you are currently seeing here. I think that this is actually the most impressive thing so far because it shows the wafer-thin protective layer of the dwarf planet very clearly. Although the atmosphere is thin, it is huge in extent. This is because Pluto is so small and has so little gravity. That means it can't keep the atmosphere close to it like our Earth can. That's why the atmosphere seems to reach very high up. If we look at a photo of the Earth's atmosphere, we can see that the atmosphere is a super thin skin of the Earth. With Pluto, it looks more like a very airy, expansive garment. And this mantle consists of 20 individual layers, so Pluto has really understood the onion principle. Maybe I should also get a few more atmospheric layers. This amount of 20 individual layers is truly astonishing, and you can wonderfully see the individual layers in the picture, which wrap around the dwarf planet like thin fog. The last point that I find very fascinating is the relationship of Pluto to its moons, especially Charon. Charon flies super close to Pluto, and in terms of size, the two don't differ that much from each other, especially if you compare them to Earth and the Moon. Both Pluto and Charon orbit around each other. What is special, however, is that the so-called barycenter, i.e. the center of their joint rotational movement, is not located in Pluto, but somewhere between the two celestial bodies in the middle of space. Incidentally, both also exhibit a bound rotation, so if you were standing on Pluto, you would always see the same side of Charon. And the other way around, if you were standing on Charon, you would always see the same side of Pluto. By the way, an old acquaintance is currently near Pluto, namely the interstellar visitor Oumuamua. You heard right, he hasn't left at all. He is still in the solar system, and NASA wants to chase after him. No joke, you will learn everything about this incredible story in the video displayed. Make sure to check it out. And if you want to support my channel, don't forget to check out the other videos on the channel. Otherwise, I'd say see you in the next video. Take care, guys.